Just record. Alrighty, we're going to start on page 97. 97. Okay. This is a little review because we've talked about phrases and clauses before. So this is a practice page on reviewing the differences between the two. I know I've said this a bunch of times, but I can't say it enough because it's going to help you to remember. The main big difference between a phrase and a clause is that phrases typically do not have verbs. Clauses do have verbs. That's kind of a rule of thumb, but like with anything in English, there's always an exception to the rule. So remember that too. But this says a phrase is a group of related words that contains either a noun or a verb. So it's listed here, but most of the time, like 99.9% of the time, it does not have a verb. So that helps me remember. Never both. It says the most common phrase is the prepositional phrase. That's what you guys know. That's what you've been using, which never has a verb. So we can count on that. If it's a prepositional phrase, it's not ever going to have a verb. A clause is a group of related words that contains both a subject and a verb. A main clause, you know about those, they stand alone as a sentence. It expresses a complete thought. And then there's dependent clauses. They cannot stand alone as a sentence. It must be added to a sentence that is already complete. These are the ones you already know. The who, which clause, you know that. That clauses, you also know that. And adverb clauses, those are the famous www.asia clauses. You know those. Those three types of clauses are dependent clauses, and they will have a subject and verb pair. Another one that you know that's not listed here is the because clause. You already know about that one too. So we're going to do a little practice here in the middle of the page. These are groups of words. They are not complete sentences. They're just parts of a sentence. I'm going to have you guys take turns reading these words, and then you're going to tell me, does it have a verb? That's the test. If you see a verb there, it's going to be a clause. If you do not see a verb, it's going to be a phrase. These are phrases or clauses. You're going to decide which one. So I'll start with Grayson. Go ahead and read the group of words right here.
He approached the log.
Okay, do you see a verb in those words?
Yeah, approached.
Good. So we're going to just mark that with a V. Let me get my pen here. Approached. So which is it, a phrase or a clause then?
Clause.
Good. Yes, very good. And then Christian, I'll have you do the next one, and then Harmony will do the one after that. So what is this one, Christian?
A phrase?
It is. Can you read it though first?
Near the tall oak tree.
Yes, that is a phrase because there's no verb there. That's our clue. We're looking for those verbs. And then how about Harmony, the next one? You can read it first. You're still muted, so I didn't hear you.
Can you read it?
Right here.
That was 100 years old.
Good. Do you see a verb there in that sentence? I see a linking verb in there.
First. That was.
Was. Good.
Was.
That word was is actually a linking verb. So does that make it a phrase or a clause?
Was.
Good. Yes. Clause. Awesome. And then back to you, Grayson, on the next one.
Where a stranger stood.
Good. And what is is it a phrase or a clause?
Clause.
Yes, because of that word stood is the verb there. So yes, that makes it a clause. Very good. And then Christian?
Beneath the full moon. That's a No, phrase.
That's a phrase. Good, because that word beneath is actually a preposition and there's no verb there. And then the last one, Harmony.
Which stone
Shone.
shone brightly?
Okay, good. Do you see a verb there?
Shone.
Yeah, good. That's right. That is a verb. So does that make it a phrase or a clause?
Clause.
Yes, good. Nice job, you guys. Okay, so the bottom part, it says dependent clauses begin with a word that causes them to be an incomplete thought. Draw lines to connect the type of clause to the word that would begin that clause. So we're just going to connect these. The first one, Grayson, is who which. Obviously, that's an obvious one. What words begin a who which clause?
Who and which?
Who and which. So I'm just going to draw a line here, and then which is way over here. So I'm going to kind of go through the middle of the words and get to the word which. And then I'm going to have Christian do the adverb clause, actually. So what words does the adverb, remember that's the Asia word. What words begin the adverb clause?
When, while, where, as, since, if, although, because.
Very good. So we got when, go ahead and connect that. We got while, connect that. We got as, if is already connected. Okay, good. Got those. And now I'm going to come back to this one, the that clause. Zach, we're on page 97. Okay. Harmony, what word begins a that clause?
But.
Yes, good. And by the way, I saw since over here. We should connect the adverb clause to the word since too. And then the end one says none. So basically the ones that are left, like then, it, and at, oops, those, there are no clauses that begin with those words. So that's why we connect it to the word none. So the who which starts with who which. That clause starts with that. Adverb clause with, like Christian said, when, while, where, as, since, if, although, and sometimes because. The very bottom sentence here at the end says, every clause contains a blank and a blank. Who can tell me what two things that a clause contains? Grayson?
Subject and a verb.
Very good. Yes. Subject and a verb. While you guys write that down, I got to turn off my heater. Hold on just a second. Okay. Every clause contains a subject and a verb. Then after you get done writing that out, we're going to turn to the practice page. So go ahead and go to page 99. Are you guys good? Got it? Okay, it looks like you do. Okay, let's go to page 99. Almost made it to 100. Almost there. Does anybody feel like reading the sentence today? Okay, Grayson, I see your hand there. Go for it.
Until that day, Robin had never met a larger man usually. Robin towered over others.
Good. And it's kind of awkward because it's missing a period. So there's actually two sentences there. But you did great reading that. The word towered is the vocabulary word. It just means like somebody who's really, really tall. If you know anybody that's over 6 feet tall, like 6'5", 6'6", they just stand way above everybody else. And that's what towered means when you're talking about a person. So Robin was tall, sounds like. There's one article. Go ahead and find the article and mark that. Okay, and before we move on, I feel like we need to put in that period because it will help us to see that there's two distinct sentences here. And that word usually is going to be the first word of this last sentence. So I'm going to stick a period after man and others. So we got our periods in there. Now we can kind of break it up a little bit. Sometimes that helps to just get those in first. Now we've got 4 nouns. So Christian, where are the 4 nouns?
Both Robins, day, and others.
Not others.
Man.
There you go, man. Good. Others is actually going to be the pronoun. So we've got a pronoun next, and usually it's he or she. But in this one, it's others. It's referring to a plural group of people. So this is going to be the pronoun here, others. And then we've got adjectives to describe these nouns. So Harmony, what are the adjectives here?
Where's the other one?
That.
Mhm.
Okay, good. That is one.
What's the other one that you marked? It's
Larger.
Good. Yes, good job. Larger describes the man, and that describes the day. So remember, whenever you're looking for adjectives, you got to look at those nouns. This noun, Robin, doesn't have anything necessarily describing him there. But we do have some adverbs. So Zach, where are the adverbs? These are, you're going to look, actually, you know what? Let me pause for a second because it might help to find the verbs first. So Zach, how about the verbs? Let's find those first. These are going to be either action words, something they do.
Until that day,
Okay.
Robin had never met a larger man. Towered.
Towered is a verb.
Met.
Met, good. That's a verb. And then there's also a linking verb in there in that.
Had.
Had, yes, good. That's it. Had and met and towered. Now we got to find the subjects though. So Grayson, what subjects go with those verbs?
Robin.
Good.
Robin again.
And Robin again. Good. That's it. Those two. Remember when it says, like, for example, here, 2 subject verb pairs, we for sure will have 2 subjects, but sometimes there's more verbs, like in this case, there's 3. So don't let that stop you, okay? But it is 2 subjects for sure. Now the adverbs. So Christian, what are the adverbs to help modify those verbs?
Until.
No, that's going to be a preposition actually. So you're looking at like met.
Over. Is over an adverb?
No, that's going to also be a preposition. You're thinking prepositions. So like look at the verb met and then think of maybe how often.
Never.
Never, that would be an adverb.
Then usually.
Usually, that's an LY adverb. Yep. Those are the 2. Prepositional phrases, Harmony. Do you see where those are now? There's 2.
color your prepositional phrases.
Until that day.
And
Good.
Over others.
Good. Perfect. Very nice. Main clauses. These are going to be complete thoughts, but I will give you a clue that they don't include the openers to these sentences. So Zach, where are the main clauses? You're not going to include the openers, but they will have a subject-verb pair, and it's a complete thought.
Robin had never met a larger man.
Good. That's 1.
And Robin towered over others.
There you go. Good. Good job. And then speaking of openers, Grayson, we have 2 different openers here. What are those openers?
Positional.
Good.
Forgot what number that was. Oh, number 2.
Yeah. Number 2. And I'm just going to write in prepositional here just to help us remember that. And then
LY is 3.
ly is 3. Good. I'm going to put a 3, and I'm just going to put ly adverb. Just squeeze it in there. That way, that'll help us remember the numbers that go with what opener. Okay. And then 4 capitals, that's easy. Go ahead and do that by yourself. And we already got our end marks. So notice how I found those end marks first, because when you guys read that, or when Grayson read it, it kind of was like, sounds weird. It feels like there's 2 sentences. It's best to kind of identify those if you can. But remember, read your sentences out loud before you start. When you do your homework, it doesn't matter if anybody's in the room or not. Just read it out loud with your voice. And then move around on that list. Find the things that you know first. Make it easy on yourself. If you get stuck on something, skip it, come back to it. Just use that list, and also use your book to go back and go, oh, I forgot what those prepositions are. Go back to that tab that we marked with prepositions, and that'll help you, things like that. All right, that's it for grammar for today. And your homework will be the next 3 pages in grammar. And now we're going to get out the binders next. And you guys wrote another creative story. And some of yours I have read and put a grade on, and some of yours I have not yet. So I will soon, though. I'm going to get caught up on all that. But you guys had, let's see, week 11. Did you guys write about drones? Is that what you wrote about, the drone? No? Let me see, which one was it? Week 11.
It was Bora Bora, a dog and table.
Yes, that's it. I see it. Does anybody feel like reading their story? We have time for 2 people if you want. You don't have to. Bora Bora or Dog and Table. Anybody want to read their story? No takers. That's okay. You don't have to. Ah, Harmony does. Thank you, Harmony.
Dog who slipped.
You forgot.
The dog's feast.
Okay.
Dog who slipped under a table quietly with a delicious feast. The feast was ready to munch, and it smelled amazing. There was turkey, mashed potatoes, and pie. The family eagerly planned to dig into the delicious feast when the guests arrived. The dog, who was sleeping under the table, woke up and sniffed the delicious food. The family heard the doorbell and went to answer the door. The dog devoured the delicious feast quickly. The dog licked his lips and laid back down under the table. The family and their guests gasped because the food was gone. The dog who devoured the feast rushed away wildly. The family and their guests were still hungry. They went to a Hawaiian restaurant
That's
to
okay.
have a feast with their guests, and the dog stayed home. We're going to Hawaii!
Was that the end?
Yes.
Good job. All right, let's give her a clap, or you could do the emojis or both. Give her a clap, guys. Come on, let's give her a clap. That was a good one. I liked it. And are you really going to Hawaii too? In real life or just in your story? Oh, okay. I love it. I love they went to a luau. Good job. And I heard all those great dress up words and your topic clenchers, and I heard all that. It was, and I didn't hear any banned words, so All right. So we're going to put away week 11 because we're done with week 11. So you can put that behind or in your folders wherever you're keeping your finished stuff. And this week, we're going to do two things. So you're going to actually take out 2 weeks worth of stuff. It's a lot. So try to keep it organized. You're going to get out week 12. Week 12 is called Bike or Ballerina. You're going to do one more story from pictures this week. But I also want you to get out week 13, which is coconut crabs. And you're going to get out quite a few pages for that one. There's a lot of pages here because this is our first research paper that we're going to work on. So I want you to get out both weeks 12 and 13, but I need you to keep them separate. Don't mix up the papers, okay? Try to keep them in the same order. So get out week 12 and week 13. And we're going to start with 12, so you can just set 13 aside for a minute. Just keep it in a nice stack. If you have a paper clip, you can put it on the 13 just to keep it together. Because we're going to, like I said, we're going to start with bike or ballerina week 12, but we're also going to talk a little bit about week 13. So we want to get it all out and get it all ready. Week 13 has a bunch of pages. Let's see, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages, or 6 pages actually for week 13. Okay, you also need a piece of lined paper. So go ahead and get out a piece of lined paper. And when you have all that stuff out, give me a thumbs up. I see that. So you have week 12 and week 13 and a piece of lined paper. Okay, good. See that? Got it, Grayson? Okay. So let's start with week 12, bike or ballerina. Like I said, this is the last week that you will be writing from pictures, and you're going to have a choice here between 2 sets of pictures. The first thing we're going to look at is this one about the bike. This is page 109, and you're going to notice there's an empty spot at the bottom. That's on purpose because now they're going to let you decide how this story ends. You got your first picture, you got your second picture, and you don't know how it's going to end, so you get to completely make up the ending for this one. And then if you look at the next page, the ballerina page, this one's missing 2 pictures. All you see is the middle picture. So and that means you're going to decide how this story begins all by yourself and how it ends. You just have this one in the middle about that. But go back to the bike one. I want you to add something to this page here. Remember the last couple of times, we talked about it with the drone, and we also talked about it with the Bora Bora. The best way, actually, this is how our brains think. We talked about how our brains think. Like if you see something on the news or you see something on the internet or you talk to somebody that says something to you, you automatically think in your brain about what they're saying. You're asking questions. Who is this person telling me this? Why are they saying this? Where did they get their information? What does that mean? All of those great questions come through your mind, and that is what makes us think. And what we're doing as we're making up these stories is exercising that part of our brain to think. If anybody asks you a question or tells you to do something or gives you any kind of information and you go, huh? Like, it happens a lot on the news. You probably don't watch the news, so, and I don't recommend it, just saying. But maybe if somebody tells you, like you have a friend or a neighbor that tells you something and you're like, what? And in your mind, you start thinking, where did he hear this from? And why is he telling me this? And What does that mean? All those good questions are helping you think. So let's put them at the top of this page to help you think of a plot here. We've got who, and I'm going to put a question mark, what, when, where, why, and how. We call these the big six. These are the big six. These are the six main question words that we use when we ask a question or write down a question. These are the first words of the sentence in English that are question words. Sometimes we can ask questions like, is there any leftover pizza in the refrigerator? Even though I'm starting with the word is, I can use that as a question word too. So these aren't the only ones, but these are the main ones, okay? This is what's going to help you come up with a plot as you're looking at these pictures. We have some extra ones. Remember those that we talked about before, after, and then outside. And when I say outside, I'm not talking about outdoors. I'm talking about outside the frame of the picture. It could be even something that's invisible. Like maybe this guy's at a show, or a competition, even though the bike doesn't look like the type of bike in a competition, but maybe he is. And he's got a whole crowd watching him. I don't know, that we just can't see him, but they're there. Things like that. These are creative stories that you're writing and you're using your imagination. Who remembers what this means, central fact? What are we looking for when we're looking for the central fact? You guys remember what that means? It has to do with the picture. Do you remember, Grayson? Do you remember?
Like what the picture like looks like?
Yeah, it's what's literally in the picture, right? The literal picture. So you start with that and then you build on that. It looks like this could be a boy, but if you want your character to be a girl, that's fine too. But think of a name for this kid, and you can write it here next to central fact. And he's riding and bike. Very simple. That central fact is literally what you see, and that's pretty much all we see. I mean, we see he's wearing a helmet, so he's probably out on the street, or he's looks like he's going to be at a park doing tricks maybe, or like I said, at a competition. We don't know. So this is for a name, somebody's name. You can make that up. And he's riding a bike. And now when you go down here to 1 through 5, and I'm just going to circle them like that, and you can do that too. I'm just going to put an arrow up to the questions here just to remind you. So you're going to come up with this by yourself. We're not going to brainstorm together too much today because I have other things I want to talk to you about. But going through 1 through 5, this is when you cycle through all of these questions. Did you hear that? I said cycle. Ha. I was being punny. Cycle, bicycle. Okay, anyway. So you're going to ask questions like, where is he? And, or where is he going? What happened before this picture? Who's on the outside of the frame of the picture? So you've got lots of spaces here to write down your ideas. Just like with drone and Bora Bora and dog and table, you do not have to use the keyword outline. These are the only assignments all year long where I'm not requiring the keyword outline. This is where if it's easier for you to just sit down and start typing or writing, I'm okay with that. This is the only time that I'm okay with that. But still use these questions, though, to help you come up with a plot. Here, the central fact. So like Christian, what is the central fact here in this picture?
Well, someone's on a bike riding up a ramp.
He's on a bike riding up a ramp. So we could put riding up ramp. Literally what's happening in the picture. I'm gonna guess he's planning on doing a super cool trick. Have you guys ever heard the guy, he's not alive anymore, but he had a nickname. His name was Evil Knievel. You guys ever heard of Evil Knievel before? Way back in like, I think it was like the 60s or 50s, maybe even. He was a guy, a daredevil. You've probably heard that term before, where he rode a motorcycle and he liked to go off these ramps and then like jump over like 4 buses or something like that. It's crazy. Like he just did crazy, crazy stunts with his motorcycle. So maybe this guy's going to do that. He's going to do a stunt where he's going to jump over a bunch of cars or buses or maybe even weird stuff like cows. I don't know. You guys can make it up, whatever you want him to do. Maybe he's going to do a flip. Maybe he's got like flames that come out the sides of his bike, like he's doing some trick. All right, you get the idea. Let's just look. Oh, by the way, we have no picture down here. This is where you get to completely design your ending all by yourself. So you can imagine a picture and put the central fact words there. You can actually draw a picture if you like to draw and you want to add your third picture there, you can. He's all crashed and the wheels are off his bike. I don't know. Hopefully it doesn't have a too tragic of an ending, but you can decide. Let's look at the ballerina one and talk about that for a minute. I'm not going to have you write the questions on this one because you can use this other page for your homework with the questions, even if you choose this one to write about. But I wanted you to look closely at the picture. Zach, what do you see in this picture? What is the central fact here?
Ballerina dancing.
Okay. There's something else. If you look closely at their feet, Zach, see anything
And
there?
her shoes untied.
And her shoes untied. So there's your plot. Something's either she got ready too fast, she ran out of time to tie her shoe, or maybe, her little puppy came up. I don't know if your dogs have ever done that before, like mess with your feet and then they untie your shoe. It's happened to me before. Who knows? You guys can decide, but we've got dancers here and they look like they're in a performance, maybe. I'm going to put performance. And then I'm just going to put that word untied because her shoe is untied. So obviously they're either going to trip and fall or her shoe's going to fly off her foot into the audience or who knows what. You guys can decide. For the central fact on these two, you're going to completely make it up. You have no pictures here. So you're going to decide what happened before this. Like I said, maybe she was in a rush. I don't know. And then decide what happens after. Okay, any questions about your homework assignment? Because I'm going to let you pick either the bike one or the ballerina one. And you're going to write 3 paragraphs. You don't have to use the keyword outline, but you can if you need to. And that is your writing assignment. Does anybody have any questions about that? Nope. Okay. Now let's talk about week 13. So keep all this together. If you have a paper clip, that's a good idea to kind of clip these together so you don't get them mixed up with 13. But this is your homework this week. So keep all that together in your front pocket. And now let's look at week 13. It's called Coconut Crabs. And you're going to notice it says Unit 6, summarizing multiple references. We already talked about summarizing references. Like when we did Captain Cook, that's what we did. We summarized that one reference. Well, guess what? We're going to have multiple now. This one has 3. And references means where you're getting your information. These are called articles that we're going to read about. There's 3 of them here. So if you just kind of look through these pages a little bit, that first one says the coconut crab. It says source text A. And then if you keep going, the next one says source text B, coconut crabs in print and on the web. And then you see another one, source text C, a huge crustacean And then you've got your checklist here. So that's why this has so many pages, is because we've got multiple, more than one article that you're going to use. It's like a research paper. And we can look at that yellow page really quick, because this is what we're going to use. This is the style of setting up your keyword outline. I know Harmony knows about this, and Christian, because they both have had my class before. This is when we use the big white pages at the back of the binder. You guys remember that? Give me a thumbs up if you remember those big white pages. Yep. Kinda, yes. Okay, good. Well, you're going to take information from each article, and then we're going to fuse them together. So notice here it says source 1, there's an outline. Source 2, there's an outline here. And then source 3, there's an outline there. So those are the 3 articles. And then underneath that, it says fused outline. Does anyone know how to explain what the word fused means? What does fuse mean? Grayson, I see your hand. Anybody else know? Christian, do you know what fused means? Go ahead and explain, Christian, because I've heard Grayson, I know you know, but I'm going to have Christian tell this one.
It's like combining things together.
Like combining things together, maybe gluing, welding, sewing even. Anytime you put 2 things together and they stay together. I like to use my hands like this and to show like fusing together. So what you're going to do is take a little bit from source 1, a little bit from source 2, a little bit from source 3, and you're going to copy it down here in the fused outline. Then this is the one you use to write your paragraph. Okay, so with your lined paper, let's go to your lined paper next. We're going to take some notes here. Go ahead and put your name. These are class notes here. So go ahead and put your name here. And today is what is it, 29? Oh, it's the 30th. Wow. 25, don't forget that part. Skip a line, we're calling this summarizing multiple references. What I'm going to teach you with this unit is something you can use the rest of your schooling, all through high school and even college. This is going to help you because you will have a lot of papers to write. Research papers or, lots of different styles of papers, but you can use this technique like from now on. It's going to be a good one. Remember how we talked about that word, that prefix some right here? I want you to underline that, and then I want you to draw an arrow down and write the word SOME. Because really what we're doing when you summarize something, you're telling some of the information, not all. We think of SUM as a math word, right? The sum of 2 + 3 is 5. It's the total. That's not what we're doing when we're summarizing, though. We are actually only telling some, not all. And that word in references, that's telling us where we're getting our information. So I'm just going to put information. And you guys know multiple sounds like multiply. That means more than one. We're telling some of the information from more than one source. That's the goal of summarizing multiple references. Okay. Remember the whole funnel thing? I know we talked about it with Captain Cook. We drew a little funnel because sometimes when you read stuff, you get like 100 facts, but you really only need 6 for your outline, right? So who remembers, how do we narrow down? How do we pick what facts we want to use in our writing or in our outlines? Do you remember, Zach, when you have a lot of facts that you're looking at, how are you going to decide which ones you're going to put down in your outline?
The most interesting ones.
Yes, good. Interesting is one thing you're looking for. What's another thing you're looking for? There's actually 2. Or does anybody else remember?
I forgot.
Okay, that's okay. It's important. Like if you're writing a research paper about volcanoes, an important information would be like where they're located. It might be interesting to some people, but where they're located is important to know. But then all the extra stuff about volcanoes, you can pick things that are interesting. So sometimes you need to make sure to have those important facts too. Okay, so there are some steps. Go ahead and skip a line here, and we're going to write the word steps. These are the steps in writing a research paper or summarizing multiple references. Number one, you need to know what your subject is. The subject is the main thing you're writing about. For this assignment, it's going to be coconut crabs. Has anybody heard of coconut crabs? I know we all know what crabs are, but do you know what coconut crabs are? Those are a very specific kind. And I'll just say they're pretty crazy and cool. So I think you'll like this assignment, but that's our subject, coconut crabs. That's the first step. The second step is to find possible topics. To find possible topics. And the way to find possible topics is look at the paragraphs that we will be reading, just like we did with Captain Cook. Remember how on the margin we wrote his early life, his first voyage, his second voyage, his talents and things, his skills. We wrote all those notes in the margin. And that's what we're going to do for coconut crabs. We're going to read it and make notes in the margin about what the paragraphs are about. And then those become our possible topics. So for number 3, the number of paragraphs, I'm going to put the number sign here. The number of paragraphs equals the number of topics. Each topic becomes a paragraph. So we might learn about like what coconut crabs eat and what coconut crabs, what their bodies are like and where coconut crabs live. So in this assignment, you're going to write 3 paragraphs. So you're only going to need 3 topics. There's going to be more than that to choose from, but you're going to have to pick which ones. And then from there, you're going to build your source outlines. So these are called source KWOs, and I'm going to put a little S there. So this is your keyword outlines. And for each source, this is where you're going to find the facts about those topics for each source. And we're going to have, I'm going to put in parentheses here, A, B, and C. We're going to label each article A, B, and C. So that way we can stay super organized. We're going to make a keyword outline for A. We're going to make a keyword outline for B and a keyword outline for C. And they're all going to be different because they're different articles. And then number 5, that you make your fused outline. Now we know what the fused outline is. We're going to combine information from each of those other keyword outlines. We're going to take a little bit from A, a little bit from B, a little bit from C, and put it together in the fused outline. And the last step, number 6, is write the paragraph using fused outline. Write the paragraph using the fused outline only. Once you make that fused, you don't need A, B, and C anymore. You're just going to focus on that fused outline, use that information then to write your paragraph. That is how you summarize multiple references. Like I said, this is super easy. It's time consuming, I will say that, but that's okay. I mean, it is anyway. Anytime you have a report to write, it takes time, but this is going to help you a lot. All the way through college, I'm not kidding. Even in college, you can use this. I think you would impress your professor in college. Okay, those are the steps. Now, going back to that idea of references, you know, like I talked about high school and college, you might need to pick different types of references. So where are some I know we know about articles. We have those in our binders, but where else can we find information about something? What are some other sources you can use other than articles? What are some other sources you can use to find information? What do you think, Christian? Where else can you find information?
Online,
Online, okay, so maybe a website.
in books, I guess.
In books, yes. We could do it the old-fashioned way. You're at the library right now, right?
Yeah.
There you go. If you went to the librarian and said, I need a book on coconut crabs, she'd get on her computer and she'd say, okay, it's going to be Dewey Decimal, blah, 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 point, blah, 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 over there, down the hall to the left on the second shelf. And then you'll go over there and you look for that number and boom, there's a book about coconut crabs. I bet you could, if you had time, I would say go do that because it's kind of cool. Just say, do you have anything on coconut crabs? And she can tell you where to go. So what else? We got online website, articles, a book. Anybody else have any ideas? What about like a documentary? You guys know what those are? Like if you go to National Geographic, they have their own app. And you go to nationalgeographic.com and you type in coconut crabs, there's going to probably be a video about it to watch. So you could watch a video, take notes, use that for your paper. Okay, you get the idea. There's lots of places where you can find information. Even if you know somebody who lives in the area that has seen a coconut crab before, you can do an interview with somebody who knows about coconut crabs. It's another source. All right, we're going to get this ready. So in the very, very back pocket of your binder, you're going to see big white pieces of paper. You just need one of those. So in the very, very back pocket, get out one piece of that big white paper, and I'm going to show you how we're going to fold this. Hopefully everybody has that back there because it's back there for a reason. I'm going to stop the share here for a second. Yep, good. I see Harmony's. Go ahead and hold it up for me. Should be at the back of your binder. Do you have one, Zach? Oh, you got it. Okay. You froze for a second. There we go. Open it wide like this. And Grayson, I don't know what happened to your camera, but it got turned off. The first fold you're going to do, you're going to lay it down. You're going to fold it this way so it's long and narrow. Okay, so it's called a taco fold. That's what I like to call it. Taco fold. Like this. Hold it up once you get that fold. Good. You see yours, Christian. Grayson, if you could turn your camera back on, I need to see you. Did you find the paper? Okay, good. So the first step, Grayson, is to open it big like that. Open it up all the way, and then you're just going to fold it once like that. That's the first fold. Go ahead and do that and hold it up. Oops, that's too small. So open it all the way. Is it a small piece of paper?
Yeah, it was taken out of my thing. I don't know why.
Oh,
I just had to find like a big piece of paper. It was taken
that'll
out.
work. You'll have to write pretty small. So that's okay though. That'll work. Yeah, you got to make sure you leave those papers in there. Okay, the second step is to fold it in thirds. So when you lay it down like this, one side is going to go a little bit past the middle. And then the other side's going to go on top of that. Okay, so you're going to fold it part way past the middle. And then the other side goes right on top of that. And you're going to end up with a square like this. Okay, so it goes from here, lay it down and go a little past the middle. And then this side goes on top of that. It's called thirds. And you're going to end up with a square like this. So hold it up like this once you have it. Good, Christian. Good, Harmony. I see that. And yours is pretty small. That's okay. Good job, Grayson. Zach, your camera went off. Got it? Okay, good.
I'm having internet issues, so I turned off my camera.
Oh, okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure you were with me on folding. So go ahead and open it now all the way back up. If you ignore this middle crease, you should see 6 boxes. So you have 3 here, 3 on top and 3 on the bottom. So I want you to keep it this direction where there's 3 on top, and then you're going to lay it down. Share my screen. Lay it down so the 3 are on top. In the first box on the upper left, you're going to put the letter A. And then we're going to build our first outline. This is going to be for the first paragraph. So it's going to be Roman numeral 1. And we're going to write it here next to the edge. Roman numeral 1. And then we're going to write 1 through 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sure you space them out. Don't scrunch them up too much because you're going to write words here. So you don't want to have them too tight together. Okay. And notice I put 4 and 5 in parentheses. That's because they're optional. As you're reading the article for A, you have to have at least 3 facts, but you might find a couple others that you're like, man, this is cool. I want to put it down here. So then you have a spot for it if you need it. Okay, that's why it's optional. Roman numeral 1, 1 through 5, spread them out. Parentheses around 4 and 5. Okay, move to the middle box. This is where you see that center crease. We're going to ignore that. This is going to be B, so put a B at the top of that. And we're still using Roman numeral 1 because this whole side of this page is going to be only for your first paragraph. We have to go through all these steps just for one paragraph. So let's do Roman numeral 1 again. 1 through 5, spread them out so they're not too close together. Parentheses around 4 and 5. Still Roman numeral 1. This is still just for your first paragraph. Okay, and then you probably already guessed it for this last box on top over here. This is going to be C because we have 3 articles, A, B, and C, same things, still Roman numeral 1, 1 through 5. Parentheses around 4 and 5. Okay, let me know if I'm going too fast. In the box under the B, in the middle at the bottom. In the middle at the bottom, this is where we're putting our fused outline. So go ahead and write in fused outline here and underline it. And this is still going to be Roman numeral 1. And this time we're going to do 1 through 7. Okay, so underneath that, spread them out. Seven is going to be in parentheses. And we're going to add the word clincher at the very bottom because that's just a reminder to you that you're still doing topic clinchers for this report. Your topic clinchers are going to help you stay really organized in your thoughts on how you're writing these papers. Remember these topics. So Roman numeral 1 is going to represent the first topic. It could be their bodies. It could be what they eat. It could be where they're located. Those are all examples of different topics. But your subject is coconut crabs. That's your subject. That's the main thing. Your paper, your report is on coconut crabs. These are going to become your topics about coconut crabs. The last thing to do is on the right of that under C here. This is where I like to keep our possible topics. And I'm going to underline that. So we're going to keep a list of possible topics when we get to that point, which we're getting all this set up for next week so we can dive right into it starting next week. Remember, your homework is still about those pictures, the bike or the ballerina. That's your homework. This is just getting ready for the next assignment. Last thing I want you guys to do, well, give me a thumbs up when you got all that down. I want to make sure everybody's good. Okay, I see that. Good. And Zach, thumbs up if you got that written down. And Grayson, you might be able to go to Walmart and get some of this paper that's really big if you want to use the bigger size, because you're gonna have to write really tiny in that paper, but it's up to you.
I'm good at writing tiny. So
Okay, good. As long as you can read it. And Zach, I see you unmuted. Are you good? Oh, his audio is messing up. Are you good, Zach? You got it all? Oh, no? Your internet's...
It disconnected me like 5 times right now.
Well, good thing I'm recording this, so I'll post it and then you can watch it later because we're at the end of class. But there is one last thing I want you guys to do. One last thing. With your articles, find this one that's page 119. I know it already says source text A here, but I still want you to write above the title an A with a box around it like that. This is page 119. So what I want you to see is how this A goes with that A. They go together. So this is page 119, put an A. Page 121. You're going to put a B on page 121 here. This is page, yeah, this is one called Coconut Crabs in print and on the web. This is B. This is where we have to get super organized. So it's super easy to see where things are and where you're getting information. And then the last article on page 123. This one called A Huge Crustacean. That's going to be C. So A, B, and C match A, B, and C that we just set up. So now you're all set. And we'll start coconut crabs next week. Again, your homework is bike or ballerina. You can pick which one. And you're going to write 3 paragraphs about those pictures. Okay, does anybody have any questions before you go? No questions? You guys are good? Awesome. Have a great week. And Zach, I recorded it if you need to zoom or fast forward to the end. Okay, bye, you guys. See you next week.